Hello, everybody. Welcome, one, welcome all, and welcome to the Bleav in Iowa State podcast. This is going to be the defensive preview episode today. I'm your host, Tyler Carter.
I'm your host, Cody Vancilo.
And I'm Eric Hessing.
Guys, we had a blast on the offensive side. Now we got some dogs on this side, the defense, man. Now, let's talk about this defensive roster. Even now, we're gonna go back to 2022 specifically. Even though 2022 was a miserable year, that defense was absolutely amazing. That defense was top 10 in the nation at that point. And last year, even with newcomers, especially with that defensive backfield, man, um, I'm really, really excited to see how this defense performs this year.
Yeah, obviously 2022 was a pretty miserable year for Cyclones in general, but there was a big spotlight on the defense, and even that on that squad, Iowa State produced their first round pick in how many years? I think it was like 40 years since the last time Iowa State had produced a first round pick, and it was Will McDonald, defensive lineman, and he ended up on the New York Jets alongside another Iowa State alum, Brees Hall. And so far in Will McDonald's young NFL career, he's got himself a solid spot on a prominent NFL roster.
So when you look at our defense and you look at Iowa State as a whole, you got to remember that we're not getting the blue chip guys that an Alabama or a Clemson or an LSU is that they are. And so when they have really good defenses, you could maybe attribute some of that to just the talent level that they have with their guys, that their guys will be more able to get to the spot than our guys because they might be more athletic or whatnot. And that's just stating a fact. Now, we've definitely bridged the gap recently between the talent levels, but objectively, when they're getting 5 stars and paying players to come play for them, they might have a little bit more ability. That's just stating the obvious. But what we have going for us is we have really good football players, and also one of the things that I'm really interested to see this season is the ingenuity of our coaching staff. John Haycock is one of the best defensive coordinators, and it shows year in and year out how we produce an outstanding defense because we kind of just know how to adapt in game to, stop the other team doing what they want to do. I'm really curious to see how the losing Tyson Veit to Cincinnati is going to affect our team. Tyson Veit was a very good coach. He's like the assistant coordinator, assistant head coach of the team, really strong leader, really good mind. I'm curious to see how that will affect our defense, if any, and also curious to see how Cincinnati improves. Hopefully not too much because we got to play them, but
Right.
yeah. So,
well, then those are like great points. So let's talk about one of the best spots on the team on the defense. Let's talk about this defensive backfield. I want to talk about Jeremiah Cooper, of course. Jeremiah Cooper last year had a superb season. He had 6 interceptions. Even with getting hurt, he's definitely one of the top returners on this defense.
Yeah, Jeremiah Cooper is definitely like the bright star of this defense. He was one of our top producers outside of TJ Tampa, and we know the ability of TJ Tampa, what he brought to that defense. And I think Jeremiah Cooper was kind of like the next breakout after that. And seeing the way he plays football, the way he plays defense, I think he's going to be another one of those guys that's kind of like a lockdown defender. I mean, he does a really good job not allowing too much going his way. And when a quarterback tries to throw his way, he's either right there to break up the pass or even intercept the football. We even saw a pick 6 or 2 last season.
Yeah, he is a ball hawk, man.
So
Very,
this position, you know, is kind of we can kind of talk about either position because corners is very different than safeties, especially in our defensive scheme.
that's true.
And I think that, you know, we could spend 3 episodes on talking about the safeties and how important they are in this scheme and how talented they are. We could spend 3 episodes and they'd be 3 full episodes about, you know, everything you need to know. We're not going to do that because that would take forever. But the safeties this year is probably the most critical unit on the football team. Even like obviously
Yeah,
the quarterback's very important, whatever. But the safeties, if we are going to be successful this season, our safeties have to be legit. They have to be. Like this is non-negotiable. And I'm going to kind of lump a lot of thoughts here, um, because like I'm going to kind of lump in the defensive line and the linebackers, the whole unit together with some of this, and then I'll kind of see what you guys think because we heard at media day one of the things that I've been hoping to hear for years, which is we're going to try to dabble in the 4-2-5. How much
yes,
how much is dabbling in? I don't know. When Matt Campbell says it, you're kind of like, okay, we might run 5 plays a game with it, or we might do half and half, and probably more like 5 plays a game. However, us dabbling in the 4-2-5 tells me that we've realized that the other teams have kind of figured out how to play against the 3-3-5 defense.
right.
The 4-2-5 will be, especially with the talent that we have at defensive line and what their skill set is, the safeties, especially Bo Freeler, are going to be pivotal to the success of this team. Bo Freeler, not only do I think he's the best player on the team, he's also the most important for our success because he plays safety, but he's going to need to play a hybrid linebacker type role, even more so than he did in the 3-3-5. If we are going to be successful, he needs to come and be the best version of himself. He's our best player on the team, and he needs to be the best player on the field if we're going to be successful. Because we've saw it before when Matt Campbell got here and ran the 4-2-5 that there are a lot of holes in the second level of the defense that we'll need to plug up with running 4 down linemen. So this position, it's so critical. It's so critical. And the fact that we have 3 future NFL players starting and probably several in the wings is a really good sign for our defense this year.
Yeah, yeah. To add to that, yeah, man. Just and because at times last year, um, all our three safeties, as you know, were hurt because they always play like a very very aggressive type of football, which I love. But it would just be nice just to have some continuity in that backfield this year, and have all of them healthy at the same time.
And the good thing is, like, even if that happens, Jeremiah Cooper, we're looking at somebody who could be a top, like a round 5+ type of guy drafted, probably a day 2 draft pick, to be honest. He could be a day 2 draft pick, definitely. I think Bo Freeler is, when I look at him, I see a early day 2 guy. NFL teams might see a later day 2 guy. But I think he could be as good as a first rounder. Like, we don't talk enough about Bo Freeler. It's ridiculous. But I think Malik Verdon, he could be a day 2 guy with his size and physicality. But when you look at the wings, like when I don't know if you follow recruiting, Cody, but I follow recruiting. I watch every single tape of every single walk-on that comes onto this team. And when I saw Drew Surges, I was like, is this kid on scholarship? Like, do we just like pull this guy off? And then like I found out through the grapevine that no, he's just, he's gonna walk onto the team. He's gonna I was like, this dude is like one of the best safeties that we've ever recruited. And he's coming as a walk-on. And obviously that changed really quickly. I mean, he got a scholarship after his true freshman year because he was almost starting. It's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. We have Jameson Patton. He's apparently really improved over the offseason. Tayshawn James. We have Trayvon Howard. I mean, just a bunch of guys who are really high caliber guys, really athletic, long guys that if we need to replace like a Malik Verdon or somebody because they get hurt, we have the capability to. You just don't really want to see it though. So if we can get a full year out of these guys, man, I think we could. I mean, when we do our prediction episode, like we're looking at a lot of W's. A lot of W's.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah. You brought up the thing about health. I think that was just one of the things the coach staff brought up the most. It's just unfortunately they weren't able to get like a full year out of say Jeremiah Cooper or like that like whole like tandem of the defensive back crew. And I mean, I think that's not the like that's obviously something that sucks. But I think the coaches know that like these players, that's how they play. They're not going to try to stop them because I mean, you want guys that are going to be aggressive. They're going to go for the ball and that like they kind of like set the tone for the rest of the defense. But like you said, it's going to be very important to have that continuity. And I Bleav like we're gonna have this continuity. And you forgot to mention one name that has seen consistent minutes. Miles Purchase, we forgot to mention, but he has
Yeah,
been a guy that has seen consistent minutes. I mean, he and TJ Tampa were a dynamic duo. Like those guys were like two of like the best like defenders that Iowa State had, and you put them alongside Bo Freeler, and that was a pretty decent trio. I think I'm seeing something like that now. You slot in Jeremiah Cooper. You give that's a pretty nice trio that has that experience to show like the younger guys like how to play the game and how to understand your position, know your assignments, how to read routes and whatnot. So having that veteran leadership, especially with Bo Freeler, because I think Bo Freeler is like kind of like the big brain of the defensive back room because I consistently see that guy like he's constantly like telling his guys like younger guys where to be in position, like how to play this round, whatnot. And I mean, Bo Freeler is like a leader over there. Like he's definitely one of the big leaders of this room. And yeah, like I said, Bo Freeler probably the most important piece. And you're right, it's not just about the way like you play on the field, but I think preparation as well. And I know Bo Freeler and the rest of the veterans are going to get the younger guys up to par.
So, guys, out of the safeties, like, who do you think? Okay, we know that the starting three guys, we know who they are. We know they're going to play majority of the game if they're healthy. Who do you think that guy's going to be that, like, everybody's going to be like, can we get that guy on the field? Like, who do you think that guy will be? We have several guys that are kind of like the waiting in the wings. Who do you think that guy's going to be? We might lose all three of these guys after this year. Like they
man.
might all go to the NFL. Like, who do you think that guy's going to be that we're like, that dude is sweet? Like, who's going to be that guy?
So if we're
I'm
talking,
talking specifically safeties.
okay.
We'll get the quarterback in a minute, but specifically safeties.
So if we're talking about the safety position, I think for me, it's gonna be Drew Surges, man. I like the way he came on at the end of the year, and he played very very well in that K State game, even in the snow. I Bleav he got some time in the Oklahoma State game, but I think near the end of the year, I think Drew Surges we're gonna see a lot of him more on the field.
Yeah, and like
Mm.
when he came in, I was just like, how we get this guy as a walk on?
Right.
Like the day he committed, I'm like, this dude, he's either going to get his scholarship after the first year, or he will go play somewhere else. Thankfully, he stayed. But like that dude, I don't I don't even know how to describe it. He looked a lot like Bo Freeler in high school too. I was just like, this dude is incredible. I could see that will be pushed. That's probably my guy, just because he's so young.
Yeah.
Either him or JMO, one of the two. But yeah, I mean, it's hard to pick, but it's probably one of them two.
Yeah.
I'd probably
Yeah, I
go
was gonna.
Sturgis.
Yeah, Surgis. I might go JMO. I really think JMO's got a really good upside, and not to bring in uh college football 25 like we mentioned a few episodes ago, but
It's
I think
not
some of
real.
us,
It's not
yeah,
real life.
we know it's not real, but if only we could do if we know it's real life.
Do
But
you,
anyway,
I,
regardless,
Jarvis
I really
West
love.
was a 3-time Heisman winner for me. Okay.
Okay, all right.
Josh Lenz was incredible. And like, don't even get me started with Woody. How many? I don't. What's that trophy called? The Doak Walker. I mean, Woody could have won the Doak Walker 4 years in a row for me.
Mhm.
So
He was unbelievably
Yeah,
fast in that game.
he was unbelievable in that game. If you had
my
a
man must have
if
got
you
them
had
like,
a
oh, what's that
240
superpower?
pound if you have a 240-pound running back in a video game, when you don't care about fear and you don't care about your guy getting career-ending injuries, and you just go, okay, this boy's a bowling ball and they're fast as heck, they're just gonna run over everybody. It's like,
Yeah.
I don't care about this guy's kneecap, it's a video game. Just keep going, big boy. You don't need a breather. Get in there. Like, they're not going to be blowing chunks in a video game. Just keep going. Anyway.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I'm
Anyways,
getting off
we got a
topic.
little off track there for a
But
second,
yeah.
but yeah, Jameson Patton. I think I want to go with Jameson Patton. I mean,
Okay.
I think I
He's got
saw like a
sweat.
pretty good jump out of from his freshman year to sophomore year. And again, I'm gonna go back to the point being he's a Des Moines kid, so I definitely got to see significant time him at his respected school here in my hometown. So really, just an overall like when I saw him like play like I guess these high schools like there's like who is like it was really difficult to play against him, really. And to see him like take like this jump that like something about his build, like I mean he's 6'2", 200 pounds, but I think he can get up there. He can get right up there with some like tall receivers. I like the 6'5", 6'6", like wide receivers. He might be a guy that like you don't really want to throw to because I think he could be a ball hawk type of guy.
He's got that swag.
He
Yeah,
definitely does.
exactly. And that's what you need. Like you need a guy that's gonna be out there. Like he's gonna bring the charisma. He's gonna bring the swagger. He's gonna bring like everything you want. Like you have all your guys who know play ball, but then you have a guy who really exudes confidence. That's gonna rub on the other players, you like especially the younger players, because it gives them like a confidence booster knowing that you have somebody that is just showing constant how it is playing ball here, and you're going to get the crowds really enjoy you. Like you're going to become like a fan favorite because people are going to gravitate towards you because the way you play and kind of like your personalities bring in viewers, which bring in revenue, and you want that kind of thing. Like I mean, we saw an example, big example of Baker Mayfield. By the way, Kyle Kemp is your father, Baker Mayfield. But anyways, like we saw what Baker Mayfield did like in that 2017 season. Like you guys remember that game against Ohio State in Columbus, right? Baker Mayfield just goes out, torches the Ohio State Buckeyes, wins the game. He then proceeds to take the flag, like the Oklahoma flag, and plant it on top of the Ohio State midfield logo. And here's the thing. In any sort of like sport, like in any like level, whether it be NFL or college, it's a cardinal sin to to kind of like disrespect the midfield logo. It's an unwritten rule, and Baker Mayfield threw that completely out of the window.
I just think that like for defense, and this might just be bro science type talk here, and this might not have any validity. I think if you come out with swag, it's kind of like the it factor on the defense where the quarterbacks don't want to throw your way because they know like this dude could come down with it. I don't want to be on Sports Center on the wrong side of the top 10 plays where this guy makes an incredible. To be honest, it's a lot like a punter kicking a Cooper DeJean. And now I know it might be blasphemy to talk about it, but it was like punters, they're just shaking back there going, ooh, I don't want this guy to come back. And then they just shank it. And he picks it up and then does magic, and it ruins my day. But
Right.
You're like, damn
Right.
it.
I mean, that Michigan State game, I don't know if our listeners know, but that Michigan State game where he turns it to win the game, I'm just sitting there going, of course he does.
I
Of
said this.
course he does.
I said the exact same thing here. I'm like, of course he
And then
returns the
it
touchdown.
almost happened in the Minnesota game. And I'm just sitting there just going, you got to be kidding me. Why are you kicking to him? And
you know what? To this day, Iowa fans will still cry about that game as if it has a huge impact on them. Listen, Iowa fans, you were going to make the Big Ten championship game regardless if you won that game or not. It was not going to be anything huge to you, okay? Even with that play going bad, whatever. You could have won it with a field goal. You only needed a field goal to win. It was 12-10 when you got the ball back.
Just
you didn't. I don't get the sentiment of like, oh, we would have done so much more if we won that game, and what the rules BS. I'm like, yeah, I do realize you still went to a Big Ten title game, right?
Anyway,
it didn't even happen.
the swag, it's you're playing mind games with them. It's like you don't want to throw on this half of the field.
Correct.
I think JMO has a lot of that where you kind of think like Jeremiah Cooper and Malik Verdon have a lot of that. Bo doesn't really have that aura in the field, but and that's kind of to his benefit because he gets so many tackles. He makes so many plays that like he may not have like as many crazy interceptions as like Jeremiah Cooper and Malik Verdon. Right. But he has the interceptions. He makes the big plays, and he's the best player on the defense.
Right.
He's absolutely the best player on the defense. He can do everything. And so I think that Jamison Patton has that swagger, and Drew Surges, maybe to his benefit, doesn't have that aura, and that could be sneaky against the other team.
Oh yeah.
So
right.
I think they're kind of 1 and 1A of like who's going to be the stud after these guys leave. So. But yeah, cornerbacks, if we're talking about cornerbacks, I think the real story here, I think the story is, we have Miles Purchase, who's like one of the better players on the team. I think he's incredible. I think he's due for a big year as the feature guy. And then that other spot, this is a spot where I don't know who it's going to be. Is it going to be Jontez Williams? We've seen flashes with him, and he's gotten better. Could it be Darian Porter? Maybe he'll come in. Or maybe it'll be the Ryan Robinson guy from LSU. Apparently he's been performing well. But also, and here's the thing. I really have no idea who it's going to be, and I'm curious to see who you guys think. But, I think some of these freshmen, man, David Coffey and Kajon Cummings-Coleman, both those guys are legit cornerback prospects. I think Kajon's probably a step ahead, but both of those guys will be starters at Iowa State. They're both really good if they should stay for a couple of years. So who do you guys think?
So for me, I think now Tez, he did take his lumps earlier in the year, and a lot of fans were getting on him. But by the end of the year, he definitely picked up his game and improved on his play. But I'm also wondering, I wonder if it's going to be a week-to-week thing, because I'm wondering if we're playing a team that has bigger receivers, if you want to have Darian Porter with his size going against a bigger wide receiver, because he's 6'4". So I think it's gonna depend on who we face. I think it might be matchup based, at least in my eyes.
Yeah, I could see it being the same thing. Yeah, I mean, you've got a plethora. I mean, this is something I wanted to say for a while. Having so many different assets, it's a problem, but it's one that you kind of want to have because you have so much like to pick from, and you can do it like based on like, matchup wise. Like say you're going up against like yeah, like you said, Tyler, a bigger receiver, you could put Porter there, or maybe you put John Tess Williams on it like a speedier receiver. I think yeah, it'd probably be like also like a matchup based thing, and it's week to week. And I know all these guys, they're all going to compete. Like with fall camp coming around right now, all these guys know like they got to put on like a really good performance. They got to be the best version of themselves they can be up to this point in order to get that spot. But I'm pretty sure all these guys are going to get some playing time depending on matchups.
I just I have no idea who's going to start. Like, it's probably going to be John Tez, but I have no idea. Because Darian Porter, he's been here for this is 6th year. He's a serviceable player. He's really athletic. He can play. Like, that Ryan Robinson, apparently we're hearing good things. I mean, Cam Smith is another guy. Cam Smith, he's been with the program for 2 years, and, you know, he's a pretty good – he played pretty well in the spring game. I mean, Quentin Taylor, he's also a true freshman. So we have 3 true freshmen at this position. I think all 3 true freshmen are really talented guys. I think somebody might move to safety eventually. But, like, I think those 3 guys – if we didn't have more experienced guys ahead of them, I think they all could be fighting for the starting role, especially experienced guys who's had gameplay experience. That's real experience. And that's, you know, like real, you show me what you're worth type experience. And I think all 3 of the true freshmen could see time this year. I just don't know who's going to be that other guy. I don't know who's going to be in the 2 deep either. The 2 deep, man. Shoot. It'll probably be Darian Porter and Ryan Robinson, but I don't be surprised if one of those freshmen or Cam Smith sneak up into that 2 deep.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing to have depth at this position at both defensive backfield positions. Just like, not saying it's plug and play, but at least you sort of feel good that even with, you know, if someone were to go down, the young guys would be able to go in there and contribute.
Yeah, and like a lot of people talk about how Darian Porter is this just track star, speed freak type guy, and he is. But he's not much faster than Kajon Cummings Coleman and David Coffey. They're both within hundredths of a second from Darian Porter's 100-meter time. So, like, they're just as fast and maybe even more twitchy because they have shorter legs, even more twitchy than Darian Porter, which is very important when you're starting and stopping on routes.
Yep.
I think next year, you know, when Darian Porter and Miles Purchase go off to bigger and better things, I think we could see a guy like Kajon Cummings Coleman push for a starting job. I really do.
Right.
So, yeah, I don't know. I honestly don't know that other spot.
It's going to be interesting to see what develops in fall camp. So with that, let's move on to the linebackers. We had a lot of youth at this position last year. We had Jack Sadowski, who was a true freshman. He started last year. Eric, mine and yours, probably favorite linebacker, Will McLaughlin, who we went to go see at Harlan in 2022. And then we did also have Carson Willick, who unfortunately tore his ACL, and Bleav he is out for the season. But we have a lot of depth at this position. I want to hear your guys' thoughts on this. Eric, you go first.
I wouldn't be surprised if Carson Willick takes a medical red shirt this year. It's really unfortunate. He's a great kid, great guy, and it really sucks. When that news came out, it really sucks. It really sucked because he's a great kid and he deserves it. He's a really good football player too. So, but talking about who's going to play this year, this is one of those ones where people might get chances to play where, for different reasons other than just succeeding in the 3-3-5 stack.
Right.
Where if somebody's really good in the 4-2-5 and we want to run that a lot, they might get the nod instead of somebody who may not be able to figure it out. That depends, though. I don't know how often we're going to run it. And, but when we talk about the linebackers, we got to start where, we got to bring home the bacon. And yes, the pun was intended. Caleb Bacon, man.
Mm-hmm.
When
Yes.
he's another guy. When I saw that he committed to Iowa State as a walk-on, I watched his tape, and I'll be honest. And you can go back to 2021 when he committed and see some of my tweets. I'm not lying. When he committed, my thought was he's a step slower than Mike Rose, but he's every bit as talented. Now, I didn't say that on Twitter. Obviously, I'm not going to downplay somebody who just had one of the best days of their life. But I was like, this kid has every ability, and he is nasty. He's a nasty player. He's a strong player, big dude. Like
Sure is.
that dude, he's
Mhm.
playing in like Division 1A football at like 6'3", 240. That's illegal. Or it should be. I mean,
He's gigantic, dude.
you're playing as like these little farm boys that are like 160 pounds soaking wet. And he's just like, this is my ball. Follow me to the end zone. You're not going to tackle me. Down, sit down. Like he was,
Yeah.
it was a mismatch. And that's always kind of the scary thing when you're recruiting these like these guys from these small towns of like, is he only just playing Tecmo Bowl against these guys? Or
Right.
how talented is he? Now, when we bring him on campus and we try him out against real players and whatnot. So and then we get a real picture. But yeah, Caleb Bacon, he does a lot of great things for Iowa State. He's really good. He has really good lateral ability, but where he really shines is clogging up the holes, and making the sure tackle. And also being really, really physical at the point of attack and getting into the backfield and stirring
Yeah.
up the quarterback.
Yes.
Bro,
He's
he was
a physical, just a
Yeah.
man. He's just a man.
dog, he
But
was a beast, especially in assisting with run defense, just
Mm-hmm.
stuffing up, plugging up holes, getting to the point of attack right when the ball carrier gets there. Pow!
Yeah.
Bang!
oh, beautiful. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
he's gonna stay on the field the entire game. Well, not the entire game. We'll take him out for breaks and stuff. But like
Right, right.
he's gonna be, no matter if we're playing 3-3-5 or 4-2-5, he's gonna be in there. He's just a freak.
Oh
But
yeah.
the
Oh
other
yeah.
guys I like, I think Will McLaughlin will be in there for the 4-2-5. I think it'll be him and Caleb Bacon if we play that.
Yeah.
And then the guy in the middle will be Jack Sadowski. Will McLaughlin has really good lateral movement, and he's just a crazy person. So he'll go out and
Yeah.
he'll
Mm-hmm.
suplex a dude and just just end just end the day for them. I was like, go take a seat. And I think that some of the Iowa State fans overlook Jack Sadowski because maybe he didn't flash as much as the other guys. I mean, how are you going to flash as
Mm-hmm.
much as Caleb Bacon? But I
Right.
don't. He
Right.
didn't flash as much. But Jack Sadowski is a really, really good middle linebacker, and with a year in the weight room, another year in the weight room, and another, getting a little bit faster, a little bit bigger. I think and just learning from the experience that he had last year, I think he's going to be a really significant piece to this defense. I think we're going to see a big step from year one to year two, where it's kind of like that Joel Lanning effect back in 2017, where you're just like,
Yeah.
this dude you're not running up the middle with him there. Jack Sadowski, in the box, Jack Sadowski is a really, really high level player. I'm not sure about outside because we don't see it very much. We probably don't need to see it very much. He's a really good player. So those are kind of, I mean, it's kind of the obvious three that we would play, and it's kind of the guys who were starting last year. But those are my, like, that's the starting lineup. I guess. What do you guys think?
I would have to agree with you. Um, now I do have a guy who could possibly push for if we do run a 4-2-5 because I've heard good things about Caleb Rosina, um, the
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah,
freshman.
Calbrzina.
Yeah, the freshman linebacker out of Downers Grove,
Hmm.
Illinois.
Yeah, I heard a lot
He.
about things. If I can interject, sorry,
Yeah, sure,
but
sure, sure. No, go
yeah,
ahead.
yeah. I mean, I heard a lot of talk about Calbrzina. I mean, Chris Williams is a guy who he's really high on Calbrzina. I mean, obviously, we saw him in it like at the see Chris Williams is a pro wrestling event down in Bondurant, and he's high on Calbrzina. So that actually got me to look into some of his game, and I think I'm pretty excited for Calbrzina. Like, if you got like these experts like talking highly of him, I would say highly. Like, he's the guy that I think could start. And I mean, just look, like, I'm just gonna throw random pro wrestling in here, but I mean, the guy literally he suplexed a pro wrestler like an actual like what like how an actual wrestler would do. Now, obviously, this can't happen, but it would be funny just to see Kale Brazina just German suplex a ball carrier like in the backfield. It would just get me going. That would be the most hilarious thing you could see. Bro, Kale Brazina out here looking like Kurt Angle, just German suplexing guys all over the field.
Take him
But
to
that's
Sufix City, Cody.
yeah, but getting back to the linebacking room, yeah, I mean, no shocker, like Caleb Bacon and Will McLaughlin, Jack Sadowski, they're definitely going to be like the main three. And I love the linebacker position a lot because I view it as like the quarterback of the defense essentially because they're kind of the guys like that are in between the first and third levels. So they're the ones that like are able to see both like they're able to see the backfield. They can focus on like the backfield and but also be able to like especially if you got a fast like linebacker they can also cover like those short routes and they're the ones that like usually are telling like the team hey this is what we're running and how we're running it. But yeah, like you brought up Mike Rose, I really love the way that Mike Rose played, and he was just like he was kind of like a glue, like he was one of those like key pieces. And I think the linebacking room is probably going to be like very important for this team to succeed, especially if we're going to be running the 4-2-5. But I mean, yeah, I'm honestly just very excited for this linebacking room. And I think maybe like that QB of the defense, like we brought I mean Joel Lanning, former quarterback turned linebacker. I think maybe I don't know. I just have a feeling it might be Jack Sadowski. He might be the guy to kind of like have that archetype. He's like very like high level, like you said. He might be a guy like that really studies a lot about like how teams block, how they like their typical like over the middle actions or just how they play. I think he's going to be in the film room. I think Jack Sadowski is going to be in the film room a lot, breaking down every single formation that any team uses, and he's going to be a guy that finds like every single like hole to plug and also find weaknesses within their offensive playbook.
I think that an interesting point to look at would be the progression of Zach Lovett because he's
Mm,
one of those he was a very interesting specialty piece for us last year when it came to obvious passing downs where we needed a quarterback spy. That was a very good role for him where he just kind of sat in the middle of the field and waited to see what the quarterback did. He kept the
right.
quarterbacks honest. Like, that's a very interesting point to see how he's progressed from that and if he's taken that his talent to the next level. I think Cooper Ebel is an interesting guy. Um, we'll probably see him in the two deep. He's a really, really athletic
Yeah.
linebacker. I know that when he was being recruited, Iowa really wanted him and they kind of counted on him to become a Hawkeye.
Mm-hmm.
And we snubbed him and came to the good guys. He's going to be one of those guys who, he'll probably start, either next year or the year after. He's going to get a lot of playing time this year. Kale Brazina, very similar type of guy, going to get a lot of playing time this year. And probably another guy that nobody's really talking about, but I'm interested in. I don't know if he's going to play this year really at all, but I'm really interested in him is Bo Goodwin. And some people might have just said, who? He
Mm-hmm.
what I realize is whenever we go out and we get a player above saturation at the very end of the year, what does that mean, Eric? A player above saturation. So like let's say that we have 3 linebacker spots starting. And we have one quarterback, we have one running back, all that. If we bring in like what we did last year, we bring in 4 linebackers, but we only have 3 starting spots. We're above saturation. So if you have 3 linebackers, you're saturated. If you have 4, you're above saturation or super saturation, whatever you want to call it. It's very scientific, very nerdy. I understand that. We went out last December and went, that Bo Goodwin guy is so good. We need to give him a scholarship and bring him in here. Go go watch his huddle tape. After we record this, guys, go watch his huddle tape. It's ridiculous. How did this guy like not get found? He reminds me a lot of Drew Surges, but we actually offered Bo Goodwin. I am very interested to see how he's progressing. We might not see him at all this year just because he's a summer guy. He's coming in the summer. He's not a spring guy.
Mm-hmm.
But next year, and I know that we're talking about this year, but if we see him a little bit, I'll be super excited because that means he came in and he really impressed. So
Yeah. This linebacker's position, like I said, it's just like every level on this defense is gonna be a very, very healthy competition in each thing. So um another position I want to look at is the defensive line. Now, the defensive line, we have some guys. We had Tyler Onyedum and Ikene Ezeogu. Um, uh, Ike had a pretty good freshman season last year. He had a few sacks, and Tyler Onyedum also got some pressure to quarterback. However, like Eric said, with Zach Levitt, with at the linebacker position, we had to find ways to get pressure, just because we weren't getting enough pressure with the 3 and
boy,
5.
boy.
It was sometimes it was just irritating. Just like, bro, how is the quarterback getting that much time in the freaking pocket? Get after him.
I mean, I love these guys. I'm so grateful that they're Cyclones. I really am.
Oh,
Like
same, same.
they could have gone anywhere. A lot of these guys could have gone anywhere. Samuel Samway, he's a 4-star player. Could have gone anywhere. Malik Verdon, 4-star player. Could have gone anywhere. Most of these guys, really, really high level players. They did not need to come here. But last year, and I'm sure they're even more frustrated than we are. It was like, can
Oh
we
yeah,
get a sack, please? Now, that's a lot to ask for a team that's like really good on defense.
right.
But also, it's like, that's a huge momentum shift for both
Mm-hmm.
sides.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And I like 3 and outs. I like, 6-play drives from the other team and that result in a punt and, we get the ball back. But those sacks, it's just adding to that swag. It's
Right.
adding
Mm-hmm.
to that momentum.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that's like bro science right there, but it really is. It
It
That's
is.
changes
I
the
know.
aura of the game. You get
mm-hmm.
so locked in when you see one of those boys just like pound that quarterback into the dirt, and you're just like, yeah, we're going to win this thing.
Yeah, no, like exactly. Like I think a better way to put it is like momentum.
Oh,
Like these
yeah.
coaches often talk about momentum of the game and like those plays that can change momentum. Sacks and tackles for loss are like some of those plays. We did see a little bit of tackles for loss here and there. I mean, we
Mm-hmm.
did see a few sacks. The big one I can think of right now is J.R. Singleton on Alan Bowman, and I could just
Woo!
tell when he got that sack on Alan Bowman, that stadium, that stadium was loud, and that just shows you like the importance and like the momentum that you can get by sacking the quarterback. Now, yes, we have been like us fans have been frustrated that we are not receiving sacks. I think that just kind of is just by nature with a three man front. That's just going to happen. And I mean, hopefully you see it more like we get more pressure on the quarterback with this
This
four man.
position, man, this position is all about heart. And
Yeah.
Exactly.
I gotta throw out another guy right now because I saw that heart when it was 10 guys on the field going through the emotions and one guy with heart. And this is back in the Liberty Bowl. And I'm not trying to rip on anybody. It was a crappy day. But Zymir Hawk, that guy has heart.
Yes,
That
sir.
guy has heart. And he's freaking athletic. So I can't wait to see him. I've heard that he's really been progressing. You know, we have old head J.R. Singleton. We have Dominic Orange.
Big
And we have
citrus.
Zamir Hawk. That's going to be difficult to play with the four-man front with three real like defensive tackles. I think we might see Onyedim come inside for those.
Yeah.
But
Mhm.
man,
Yeah.
those three guys are really physical and athletic guys.
Oh.
We got some dogs on this D line, man. Like,
Dogs.
I mean, yeah, just the thought of like these guys. I mean, obviously last year we saw the picture of Dominic Orange, whose literal arm looks like a giant turkey leg as you see at the Iowa State Fair. And I was so hyped for his season. It was kind of disappointing, like that he wasn't able to produce as
That guy,
much.
when that
But
guy
I
was
mean,
on,
still,
when we went to the
regardless.
spring practices in 2022, and we looked at like the defensive line, we had Kevin come, and Kevin's one of the guys who used to be on this podcast, a good friend of ours. I was sitting next to him, and we were looking at the players, and he has no idea who anybody is. And I point
Uh-huh.
over, I'm like, hey, look at that number 95 over there. Look at that big boy. And Kevin goes, who is that? Is that like, I don't know, a JR or, whoever, Isaiah Lee? I go, no, that's a true freshman. He's like, that guy is a true freshman. I was like, that's a big boy. That's a big boy.
Mhm.
Like, they built that new football facility to feed him. No.
feed me.
They needed to build a whole new football facility to feed that man. But they,
Yeah.
I'm glad he slimmed down. He needed to. Looking at him at
Oh
that
yeah.
practice, I was like, oh no. He
Yeah.
came in at like 400 pounds.
I remember
Oh
that.
yeah, I remember this. Yeah, I remember
Big
this.
old
People were
boy.
talking about it. Yeah, big old 400-pound, fresh out of high school, but now he's
Oh
like
yeah.
here
Like,
with
I
with
think
proper staff,
I'm
proper
glad that he
nutrition, and
slimmed
everything.
down. He's a really good player, man.
Yeah.
I
Really
mean, yeah,
good.
yeah.
And
Him slimming down, like
the
before you get to what you're talking about. Sorry.
what I hope we remember about this defensive line, though, what I hope we remember is that we need to prove it. We didn't prove it last year that we could get to the quarterback. We need to prove it. And we can't just I know I've been saying like we need to do the 4-2-5. We can't just rely on if we need to get a sack to put the 4-2-5 out there because we think that we're going to cheat it now. We need when no matter if we're running a 4-2-5, it is imperative that a guy hurries the quarterback, pressures the
You ain't
quarterback. If
lying.
we put out 4 defensive linemen on a play with 2 linebackers, you need to get to the quarterback. That's not hopefully we get. No, you need to get to the quarterback. If you have 3 guys out there, you need to hurry the quarterback. Like,
Yes.
this is the Big 12. There are capable quarterbacks in this league. You need to make them confused and uncomfortable.
Yep.
And Kennard Snyder, he's going to get a lot of playing time. Ikenna Ezeogu is going to get a lot of playing time. I think our starters are Tyler Onyedim and Joey Peterson. One of those guys.
They gotta
If we're
step
doing
up.
a 4 down lineman, one of those guys needs to get a hand on the quarterback. You need to. It's unacceptable if you don't. And
Completely agree.
I think that Joey Peterson is one of those guys who just with pure strength can get there. I don't know if he has the moves in his arsenal. I know, Onyedin probably has the moves, but he does a lot of power moves where he uses his strength to get around him, to like swim him and stuff. I think that the Samuel Same, Kenny Ozogu, and Kennard Snyder are probably your pass rush specialists. So we probably will bring them in on the 4 down. Just put one of them on one side and maybe have Joey Peterson on the other, or Tyler Onyedin on the other. I really don't know how it's going to look like, but if we get 4 guys on the line, but we need to get to the quarterback, or else it's going to be a long day.
Yeah.
Yep.
Cody, I wanted you to finish your thought on defensive line.
Yeah, like you said, I was just kind of lost my thought for a second, but I mean, talking about Dominic Orange, I mean that just goes to test. Like we always talk about the main staff that you always see on the field, but not enough appreciation is given to the staff kind of behind the scenes. Like you talk about him slimming down, that goes to show you kind of the nutrition and the conditioning that these players go through. Now, obviously, athletes will always talk about how they have world class nutrition. They do it way better, and once you get to college. But I mean, it's a real testament here, for us at Iowa State. I mean, our football facility is really neat. It's really beautiful, and I mean these cooks and chefs. I mean, there's some the top chefs in the country, and I mean they're the people fueling our football team, and they're there's an analogy that goes would you put cheap gas in a very expensive car like a Bugatti? No, you want to put really high quality gas in that type of car, and that same thing goes with athletes. You need high quality fuel for you to perform well, and yeah, I just got to get an appreciation to the nutrition staff here at Iowa State, and they've really put really good food for our players, and our players really enjoy it. They really appreciate it, and it helps them with their performance come game day. Now, and yeah, obviously for Dominic Orange to slim down like that, I mean that's a big highlight for that nutrition staff. But I really just love that progression, and yeah, I just got to get an appreciation for them.
No, I completely agree with that. I think another player that could make noise on the D line, I think, is Jace Gilbert. Jace Gilbert, who we got from Arrowhead in Wisconsin. I think he might be able to push some of those guys, but I think the defensive line is pretty much intact.
Clarification for those who watched the 2022 football season: this is a different Jace Gilbert. This
Yes,
is not the
this is not the kicker. Not the kicker.
Let's make that clear. Let's make that clear, everybody. This is the different Jace Gilbert. I know they have the same names, but this is a different dude in a different position.
Not the kicker.
It's his punishment. Anyway,
don't worry. We don't want to scare you guys.
No, I didn't say that. But yeah, Jace Gilbert, it's tough because this is such an important position that you need to get a year in the weight room.
Sure.
To really get your body right, but he's coming. One day he will be a starter. I don't know how much playing time he's going to get this year, but we saw Zamir Hawk get playing time last year. Zamir Hawk was he was a summer guy, and he was playing against Ohio. Wow. He might have he might have came in earlier than that, but he's playing against Ohio. So there is a possibility we might see Jace Gilbert. I wouldn't be shocked. I don't know how big he is. How big is he? Is he big enough yet?
I think he listed 6. He's listed as I think I saw it was 6'7", 270.
Yeah, 6'6", 270.
Ooh, he might be able to play a 3-tech. He might.
Yeah,
he might. Ooh,
all right,
that's tasty.
Yeah, man. I mean, if he adds another 30 pounds,
he's a freak, dude. He's a freak. Samuel Same is probably the freak of all freaks.
Yeah.
But yeah, Jace Gilbert is a freak. And he's a big freak too.
Dude, just imagine like just a big like 300-pound dude moving around like he's Rey Mysterio.
But like the whole thing with the whole defense, this whole thing, especially with the defensive line, it reminds me of kind of. I think we'll probably play the 4-2-5 a little bit at the beginning of the year, and as we go on, I would not be surprised if we see more and more of it with how successful it becomes. If we go down to Houston, excuse me, if we go down to Houston and we start playing that, and we start, beating up on these teams with it, where they don't know what the heck's going on, we're going to see more and more of it until we fully adopt it. Because like when we went from the 4-2-5 to the 3-3-5, we kind of fell into something that really, really worked well for us. With Ray Lima in the middle of the defense, he was the perfect prototype guy to do that, because he was very cerebral and he knew, like, it was not easy, but it was a simple job where you either go left or you go right, and you just really push hard on that spot. And that, it was simple, it was hard, and he was really good at it. And that, him being a really good player, really made that defense flourish. I think part of it also was the ingenuity and the newness, I guess, for lack of a better term, of the 3-3-5, where teams didn't really understand how it works, because they're like, okay, we'll just run on this, because they're trying to stop the pass, we'll just run on it. And they didn't really understand the philosophy of, we have all these guys back so we can move forward and make it really difficult. It was kind of a lot like when Netflix came out. When Netflix came out, everybody's like, oh, you mean I can just watch whatever movie I want? I'll get Netflix. And, then all these movies started popping up on Netflix, and Netflix got huge, and everybody started cutting their cable because they're like, oh, we'll just watch Netflix. And then now every other company is coming out with a streaming service. ESPN, Disney, HBO, all these other companies are coming out with streaming services. So where you thought you might be saving money watching TV, you're now probably spending double what you used to, because it's all spread apart, and you got to pay for everybody's infrastructure. Anyway, everybody has kind of figured out the 3-3-5 now, where we've started to see diminishing returns on our defense, because the gimmick has kind of been figured out now. When we go to the 4-2-5, I'm curious to see where, and also all these teams are starting to become a lot more focused on the run and kind of the quick play action type offenses, to kind of beat down, or to kind of figure out all the teams that are running the 3-3-5, because there's so many teams now running it, where if we go to the 4-2-5, it'll be something different that they haven't seen, and that we're going to, and it will really confuse them. I mean, these quarterbacks, they're going to get really confused. They only have a week to prepare for us. They'll get confused. So
yeah,
I'm very curious. And if our defensive line can adapt to it, ooh, boy, we're going to win a lot of games.
Yes, sir. All right.
Yeah, I'm certain.
Oh, go ahead.
I'm certain I'm certain our guys are going to adapt this. I mean, just the mind of John Heacock, like you mentioned, obviously 3-3-5. It was revolutionary at the time when he brought it into the Big 12. Of course, eventually everybody's going to figure out the advantages and disadvantages of it. But us implementing the 4-2-5, it's going to be kind of, I would say it's a little, like, maybe not too similar, but it's kind of give off like kind of that effect where like teams haven't really necessarily game planned against it. They haven't strategized against it. So it's going to be difficult for them to figure out, seen it maybe somewhere else. I don't know. I don't know the exact how the Pac-12 play defense if they had any defense. Looking at you, USC. But anyways, like that, and then the American as well. So a lot of like these different defensive systems, like it just depends on if a team has seen it before or not. That'll determine like how successful they are against it. But honestly, I'm very excited to see this team implement that 4-2-5 a little more, and just seeing like how we do early on in the season. I think that'll be a tale of where we are successful. And I think obviously I don't want to beat on a dead horse here, but Iowa is going to be the big game that I want to see us use it prominently. Because even though Iowa is known for historically having prominent offensive linemen, they historically, as of recent, have not had exactly the best offensive line in the country. I think their reputation has taken a little bit of a hit as in terms of like producing great offensive linemen.
Definitely. I think it's really this 4-5 is really going to be put on display against a team that's really, really good offensively. So probably later on in the year, probably I would say maybe against like West Virginia, probably week 6. I think we'll probably could see it on display, or like Eric said, probably week 4 at Houston.
You know,
But yeah,
yeah, I got a simple message for anybody that's preparing for Iowa State. Run, pass, survive. Good luck.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. And with that, we're gonna go into our expectations, key performance indicators. I will go first, and then Eric, and then Cody.
Yeah.
So for me, one of the things that put this defense over the top last year was so we changed our coaching staff. So Hank Petit, who was an NFL guy, came in for to coach the defensive backs. So we became more like we like when we had Capone, we had like we were good defense and we covered the ball, but one of the things that we never really did was get turnovers. And I was like, man, you know what would be amazing is if we could get turnovers and change the game. Last year, this defense forced 19 turnovers, and we had +8 differential, which was tied in college football with Alabama, which was who was a playoff
Mm-hmm.
team last year.
Mm-hmm.
So I know for me, if we can get anywhere near that 19 turnover mark, I think that would definitely help us, especially with a very young uh, and inconsistent offense like we had last year. I think this will definitely help us gain more possessions. So that's one of my key performance indicators. At least, and another key performance indicator is I want this is probably going to be a low number, but I don't know where to put it. But if we can get like maybe like I'll say 20 to 25 sacks, I think that would help and with momentum and maybe stymie some drives that because some teams had long drives on us last year. So those are some of
Mm-hmm.
my key performance indicators. Eric, what do you have?
I think for every game, we need to shut out the other team in one quarter. Doesn't matter which quarter it is. But if we can shut the other team out for one quarter, 0 points in a quarter, we are significantly more likely to win the game than if they score every quarter.
Mm-hmm.
If we can limit them to, like, let's say they get through the first quarter, they don't score. If we can if we score once or maybe even twice, maybe it's 10-0, that is a significant advantage for us. If so if we can hold them scoreless in one of the quarters for every single game, I think we'll probably end up 8-4 or better. It's really that simple. Now, it's pretty hard to keep them scoreless in a quarter, but I think that hitting that metric will get us to where we're trying to go. Probably the other key performance indicator that I'm looking at is probably holding them to about 120 rushing yards per game. The Big 12 is moving towards running the ball more than throwing. and also kind of doing like screen passes and stuff, if we can hold
Yeah.
them to 120 yards or less, we should have a very, very successful season, because these teams are moving away from slinging it around.
Right.
So they're going to be trying to run more, and we're playing guys like Ollie Gordon and Taj Brooks, and the guy from UCF. Those guys are really well. We don't play Ollie Gordon this year, but we're playing guys like it, and
Yeah.
these teams are going to use those players. So
Mm-hmm.
if we can do that, and we can hold them scoreless in a quarter every game, we should be going down Arlington this year.
I am in belief in that. You guys have any other closing thoughts?
Yeah, I guess for me, kind of the expectations. Obviously, I think I'm gonna go less of stats, but like maybe I'm like more of a less of a stats guy, but more of like a morale kind of guy. Like I definitely want to see this team like really like have that confidence, have that swagger, like we mentioned earlier in this show, and definitely getting like those like big plays, like those tackles for loss, those sacks, those turnovers. Those are gonna be huge, but it's just going to come down to the over psyche of like the team and I mean preparation. So I expect these guys to like always play it like they're prepared. Like they always have to come up prepared, and that is like one of the intangibles. I look more into the intangibles. Like are guys like truly locked in? Are they truly prepared? Are they like invested in the game? And that's something you don't see in the stats, but that's something you see like your body, like your facial expression, your body, like your body language, and all that. So looking at that, and I want to see this team like be like that confidence. Like they got to have that confidence every single game. Like you have a chance to go in to win, regardless if you're playing, say like you're hosting like a Baylor, or this year you're going to Salt Lake City. You're going to play
Right.
Utah in their building. Like people talking like Utah might be the most difficult road game for Iowa State, but I really want our guys to walk into there knowing that they can win those kinds of games. We've seen the team historically do it for. They've done it. I mean, obviously, the big one, I mean, 2017, Oklahoma, they went into the house with Baker Mayfield and Kyle Kemp, was just balling on all over them. So I want to see that swagger. I want to see that confidence out of this team to show that they can win these games and bring that swagger to Arlington. But then the second one, definitely like you mentioned, the sacks. Like I'm a big proponent. Like I love when like our like front seven get to the quarterback. So those
Yes.
sacks are huge because they not only get they not only get the crowd going, but they get the team going, and that circles back to my point of confidence on a team. So yeah, just overall, I just got to see this team lock in, prepare, and just those intangibles. I look at those intangibles, and that tells me the body language tells me if these guys are confident in winning that game or not.
Yeah, those are great closing thoughts. Some news, just preview for next week. So we're going to be doing some episodes next week. We're going to be doing our everyone's favorite, the schedule prediction. This is when hope springs eternal for every
Mhm.
fan. And then we're gonna do a Big 12. And then we're gonna do a Big 12 centric episode, and where Iowa State fares in the Big 12.
Mhm.
So with that, I want to say thank you, everyone. Thank you, fans. Thank you, listeners, for listening today to the Bleav in Iowa State podcast. This is Tyler Carter.
This is Cody Vanciello.
And this is Eric Casting.
Run, pass, survive. Go Cyclones.
Go Cyclones.
Go State.